Are you struggling with what to do when it comes to feeding your restaurant staff? If you are, you're not alone. Today's question is to feed restaurant staff or not feed restaurant staff. Let's get right into it. I'm Dave Scott Peters, restaurant expert, coach, and creator of the Restaurant Prosperity Formula. I've been coaching restaurant owners since 2003, and I'm really glad you're here to learn. Today, I want to talk about what your options are when it comes to feeding your staff. But before I get into that, if you like tips and tricks like this, do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and oh yeah, that bell, so you're notified when my next video tip comes out. And for more tips and tricks for running a profitable restaurant, make sure you tune into my podcast, Restaurant Prosperity Formula, found on all the popular podcasting services. Now look, I've grown up in the restaurant business. I have seen and experienced a lot of things in my 30 plus years in the business. And I'm going to take a moment and talk to you about what some of the options are you have when it comes to feeding your staff. So there's the most old school way to feed your team, and that was called family meal. Usually found in fine dining restaurants that do really high sales, that have reservations on the books, and they generally know that they're going to do incredible sales each night, that where they can bring all the team in at the same time because labor cost is not a problem because of the ring of the register so high. This is where you would literally, chef would make rice and beans and tortillas with shredded pork, and one day and all of a sudden everybody's making pork tacos. Another day would make pasta and meatballs, things that may not even be on your menu. Just buy the ingredients and everybody sits down like it was a Thanksgiving meal, and they all sit and eat together. They all come in at the same time together, they clean up together, and they open the restaurant together. Now the pros are, it's family oriented, again called family meal. Everybody gets fed. We're not worried about when somebody takes a break during the rush to eat versus a 15-minute break. The cons are, do you have a recipe costing card for that? How do you track that? Does your labor cost really need to be that high? Even if you've got the greatest sales in the world, you're bringing people in when they don't need to be there and you're paying them to eat. So I'm not a real fan of this old school method of a family meal, but it's still done. There's another old school method that the chain restaurants put in place, and that's having a special employee meal menu that they give the employees their meal for free. But you may have these great burgers and you may have these great sandwiches and pasta dishes and you name it. But what they get is grilled cheese, peanut butter and jelly, pasta with sauce, very basic items that don't cost you a lot. Now, the pro is everybody gets to eat. No problem. Pros are, we get to control the cost on that because they're low cost items. The cons? They're not learning what your food tastes like. It can be really boring, and you can be sending a message that you're not important enough to give you food that you actually like. So that is an option. A typical restaurant, and the way I grew up in the industry, is we often give people 50% off their meal. If you work a shift and you order something, you get 50% off. So you literally, if it was a $15 burger, we're going to comp half of it and you're going to pay half. Well, that's a nice way to do things. And if you're a manager, I'm going to buy your meal 100% free for every shift you work. But you cannot take this out and say, I'm going to give you 50% off every time you come in to eat with all your friends and family and so on. It doesn't mean you don't give them a discount, 10, 25%. I'm not a fan of it, but I know a lot of restaurants like to do that, but it ain't 50%. And my managers, again, they get a full meal, but it doesn't mean that you get to order, I worked a shift, I got 50% off and I want to feed my family at home and I order a whole bunch of stuff and I take another discount. Doesn't mean it's one meal, one shift. Now, the pros are, they get to try your menu. They get to have what they want. All the products are on the shelf. Easy. Some cons are, there are some items I can't let them get. So if I've got the most amazing CAB beef prime dry aged steak, they don't get to get that at 50% off. Not going to happen. So now they feel a little slighted. Some cons are that when I start going down this process and we're comping, I can create some liability for me with use tax. Not going to go down that rabbit hole right now, but just understand when you comp, You did not pay sales tax on 50% of that food that you bought from your vendors. So the government says you owe me taxes on that 50% of product. So a whole nother discussion we should have here on YouTube. Now, restaurants that have to reduce their costs because of COVID, the Great Resignation, the rising costs, that today are still struggling and need to make change. A lot of these restaurants now are just providing snacks. Like here's a refrigerator, bring your own damn lunch in, your own dinner in, and you put it right here. Or here's some bags of popcorn and chips and protein bars and so on, that I'm going to supply you something that it's a much less expensive. The pros are you're still showing you care. The cons are it can be interpreted as you really don't care enough about me. And is it enough for me to sustain myself if I'm getting a protein bar? Because maybe I'm, how many of these young people who work for us are going to go back to the days of bringing lunch to school? It ain't going to happen. So it's not as popular to be done. What I want you to know is that in this day and age, showing your staff that they're appreciated is a big deal, and it helps you become an employer of choice. So you need to select which option, how you're going to feed or not feed your employees. You have to choose that option wisely, because sometimes, I'm going to warn you, that penny pinching may cost you more in employee turnover than a benefit of reducing your food cost over restricting their meals. If you're tired of not being able to leave your restaurant because no one else knows how to run it, I want to make sure you know it doesn't have to be that way. You can leave your restaurant. It is possible to build a team of people who know how you want the restaurant to run, with trained and responsible people in place. You can give yourself time away. What would you do if you had time away from your restaurant? Would you sleep better? Would your relationships improve? Would you feel more relaxed? These are all things you deserve to experience as a business owner. It's why we own our own businesses. If you would like to learn how to own a restaurant that doesn't depend on you to be successful, click the link in the description to watch a free video to learn exactly what you have to do. Also, be sure to subscribe to get my weekly tips and watch these 2 videos to get more information and guidance for running a successful restaurant.